Business Brain, episode 533 for Wednesday, March 20th, National SBDC Day. That's Small Business Development Center Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take an idea or six, we dissect it, we analyze it, we peruse our reactions to it so that we can each tune our business brains every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include Shopify.com/businessbrain, where you can go and sign up for a $1 per month trial period, and GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Squared Away empowers highly educated military spouses to become your remote executive assistants. We'll talk more about both of those in a little bit. For now, back here from South by Southwest last week. Now here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And in sunny California, I'm Shannon Jean. And I love both those sponsors because Shopify rocks. It's amazing. All of us have used them at one time or another. And everybody needs an executive assistant. It'll change your life. There's an old saying, you want to double your income? Get an assistant.
Get an assistant.
So true. So happy to have you back, Dave.
I'm happy to be back. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it was a great trip. I have lots of things to share.
Yeah,
We've got some things I think in Friday's episode, and then probably something next week too. There's always lessons.
Yes,
always.
Make sure you stick around for Casual Friday. So the way we do this is we live stream this every week up on all these various platforms: X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then we cut the show in half, and we do a Wednesday podcast and a Friday podcast. So we're glad to have you here. Certainly, X is promoting the show more because we have more listeners than we typically have, which I love.
Yep.
And before we get into the kind of meat of this, I did a post this morning about the Reddit CEOs. Total compensation. And I know how the media likes to play this trick. They say, this guy's getting paid $193 million. Not really, but he's getting paid about $500,000. And the rest is based on how Reddit does. They're getting ready to go public, I guess. And as part of this roadshow and all the paperwork for going public, all the unpaid moderators that actually make the site work are up in arms a bit that when they see that $193 million possible payday. And I just thought it was interesting, so I want to talk about unpaid people. There's a spider on my screen. So another.
That's bonus.
Unpaid.
An extra co-host today.
Yes, extra co-host. Protein. There he is. I hope he's not under my
screen. We don't eat our co-host, Shannon. We're both going to make an agreement here.
Okay, good. But, I've used unpaid workers. We had unpaid interns.
Yeah.
We've done some episodes about it. It was awesome for them. It was great for us. They were from a technical school, and they needed, actual real-life credit as they were growing up. And we tried to work really hard to make it beneficial for them. I don't know. There's a lot of people, and I posted that. When I posted this morning, a number of folks are like, I don't believe in using unpaid, people at their business. And, so I responded to the school wouldn't allow us to pay them.
Yes.
Not to justify that my way, because I know they got a lot out of it. But what's your thoughts on the whole unpaid
I just came back. I just came back from South by Southwest, where they, most of the people that work at the actual festival during the week of South by Southwest are volunteers. Now, they are paid in trade. And I don't know the exact, structure, but I know that you work a certain number of hours and you qualify for, one type of badge.
I got it.
And you work more hours and you qualify for a different type of badge. And then the badge, of course, gets you in to other events at South by Southwest.
So the more they do, the more exposure they get, and to experience the bands and the speakers and all that stuff.
The bands and the movies and the speakers and all that stuff. So it's a trade. They aren't, to call them volunteers is probably technically inaccurate, but it is always interesting to me how the staff of South by Southwest celebrates the volunteers. And that part, of course, I get. They're I don't know how they would do the festival without them. Every time they celebrate the volunteers, the room full of people, most of whom I presume paid cash money for their tickets.
Yep.
And, not insignificant cash money for their badges. Like, I think you could pay $1,500 for a platinum badge. Like, they're not cheap. Maybe not quite that much, but over $1,000. Sure. Yeah. Like they applaud like these people, it invented like sliced bread for the first time. So, and it's just interesting to me that there's this dynamic. I think it's great that these people are appreciated, but it's just like, I don't know that anybody really thinks about it, but
I wonder.
But
I expect
everybody seems okay with it. Yeah. Like I've talked to volunteers, they are stoked to be able to do it. They like the deal, so it's not like they're being exploited or
no. I agree, and I would argue
that
that the moderators on Reddit have some power over content, what shows up.
I think we saw that last year.
Yes. When what was it? I forget the community that went dark or whatever. Oh yeah, when
all the communities went dark.
That's right. So it's a fascinating discussion. I'd love to learn more. Maybe there's a whole episode in it if we could get some feedback from you at at your business. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Tell us if you're using or have ever used unpaid workers and how you structured it and how you made it beneficial. But it wouldn't surprise me to read another article soon about Reddit moderators unionizing.
Oh. All right, folks, look, on this show, we take entrepreneurial puzzles and make them into pieces of cake, right? And speaking of easy choices, when you're on a plane, window seat or middle seat? Well, obviously, I'm going to take the aisle because I'm a control freak. And when it comes to selling online, there's an equally obvious pick. Our sponsor, Shopify. Imagine if your business journey was a game. Shopify is that power-up which helps you skip ahead to the good parts. From launching your online shop to unlocking the, oh my gosh, we need a bigger warehouse level, Shopify is your sidekick every step of the way. Selling shipping supplies or spreading the word about your productivity hacks, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. It's like having a Swiss Army knife for your business, but instead of a tiny, barely useful saw, you get an all-in-one e-commerce platform and an in-person POS that actually does the job. And here's where it gets really cool. Shopify turns window shoppers into buyers with a checkout that's smoother than your morning latte. Plus, with Shopify Magic, you've got an AI-powered assistant that's like having a marketing wizard in your pocket. Who needs a rabbit out of a hat when you have Shopify? With Shopify powering 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. and backing global success stories like Allbirds and Rothy's, it's not just a platform, it's a launch pad for success. And with their award-winning support, you're never flying solo. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/businessbrain, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/businessbrain, and our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. All right, those days when your to-do list is longer than a coffee shop's drink menu, and you're sitting there wondering if you need to clone yourself to tackle it all? Well, before you look into mad science, let me introduce you to a more practical solution. Our sponsor, Squared Away. Squared Away is like having a team of business ninjas at your disposal, except instead of throwing stars, they wield calendars, spreadsheets, and email inboxes. They're remote executive assistants who can leap tall to-do lists in a single bound thanks to being highly educated military spouses. Talk about trustworthiness and readiness for any challenge. Whether it's turning the chaos of event planning into a well-oiled machine, transforming bookkeeping from a nightmare into a dream, or even the Herculean task of booking a plane flight for your adventurous pooch, Squared Away has your back. And yes, they can even make a virtual baby shower feel like the social event of the season. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm and embrace the calm of well-managed tasks, contact Squared Away today to see how they can support your business. Just go to GoSquaredAway.com/contact. That's GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Unleash the power of productivity today. And our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right. We were going to talk about this last week, and then we had a weird scheduling thing, and it didn't happen. But we talked 2 weeks ago about partners and compensation and all of that stuff.
That's right.
And a topic kind of came up that I wanted to take a little bit more time to dig into, and that is beware the partner who actually is, or at least wants to be, an employee.
That's beware with capital B.
Yes. All capital and EWAR and E as well, because there's a lot of people out there who love whatever their idea is of being a business owner. And and they're going to be right about some things, maybe the idea of having some flexibility, the idea of having, I'll say, unlimited upside. It's not actually unlimited, but it's, not like
exponential opportunity,
all of those things.
Yeah.
The control, and it might not be all of those things. It might be some, one or more of those things, but they also want the safety, the comfort of a salary, or or a job. Sometimes
mutually exclusive ideas, right?
Yes.
And I've been there before, because the idea of starting a business and being a swashbuckling entrepreneur, it's so darn sexy from the outside.
Yeah,
right?
from the outside.
From the outside.
Yes.
And magazines promote it, websites are heroes.
The American dream, Shannon.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos started on a door and this and all these guys. And it does sound, we celebrate the end state instead of recognizing the struggle, the years
grind.
And years, the grind. Yeah, the grind. And so, and I do it too. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Oh, I've lived it as well, and I do it because it's way more satisfying to talk about the successes than it is.
Sure.
Oh my God. Like I always say, and this is true, time heals all wounds. And so it's easy to forget how much it sucked at some points in time.
Brutal.
We both are recalling on our memories right now, and we're wrong. Like I know that we aren't remembering how bad it actually was, right?
Yep.
And so this idea of a partner that wants to be an employee, this is something to look out for. And I really feel like the working agreement is a good place to start this. And my advice is put in how the money's going to flow. If the word compensation ever enters the conversation about the working agreement, end it.
And I guess I agree with that, but I have a comment too that I'll interject. Unless someone's is one of the partners or one of the people are actually operating the business,
yes.
If they're having to trade time and their skills, then certainly that person should be compensated at some level. But they all, to your point, that it's nothing is guaranteed.
That's the part. The guarantee is the part.
So if you're making money and you're generating cash flow, the operating partner or whoever it is, partners, you could agree on some compensation. Okay, great.
But all equal partners need to be treated equally. I think maybe that's the place where if let's say the two of us are going to start a business, right? Just
I'm
for
ready.
the sake of argument. I know. Let's go. Yeah. God grant me the serenity not to start another business.
Yeah.
We both were going to work in the business. In fact, let's pretend we're starting a podcast, right?
Let's do it. Yes.
And so that we're going to split up the labor. We're both going to be hosts on the show, so we're going to do this together. I'll do the pre-production work of building the thing and mixing the episodes. You do the post-production work of putting the show out. For those of you who haven't picked up on it, I literally just described what Shannon and I do here.
Yes.
Like it's exactly this. And so, okay, all right, great. Here's the working agreement. How's the money going to flow? And I say, well, we're both equal partners in this. We're both putting time in. But Shannon, you've had a little more success than me. You don't need the cash flow like I do.
Oh, that's
and
terrible.
so
Run.
Right. So, but we both agree that to make this business succeed, we both have to put time in, and I can't afford to put time in without being paid. So I want to make sure I get paid first and still maintain my 50% interest in this business. How does that sound to you?
If you're listening in the car or on your run or exercising, you can't see me shaking my head side to side vigorously, but that's the deal. These types of things never work. And I don't use the word never, I try not to use it, but that's a mindset and a mentality. And the person that you are ready to launch something very important is not on the same page as you. And the framework for how the business will operate is different than what you're thinking, I guarantee it. Or if you're that person that's asking for the compensation, I'm no problem. I get it. We all have to live. But
I explained a very reasonable scenario, but it can't remain that way. If both partners are working equally in the business and have decided that they own an equal share of the business for whatever reasons, there's a lot of reasons to get there, and that would actually be a good thing to talk about in another episode is how to decide on that for a partnership. But if you are in that scenario, it is my advice and certainly my opinion that everyone needs to be paid equally and simultaneously, or at least commensurate with their shares. So let's say, we had three partners and one was 50% and you and I were each 25%. Well, if $100 comes in, we give the other person 50, we each take 25, right? Like it unless there is unless one of us is a silent partner and not actively working in the business, that's different. Correct.
And that should be spelled out.
And that's going to be spelled out. But if both people or if all partners are working, and that's why I said equal partners need to be treated equally.
I agree.
If everybody's working in the business, if one person needs to take money out, everybody needs to take money out.
And if the business doesn't have the money, nobody gets it.
Nobody gets it. Correct.
You're not going in the hole because of one person's particular needs. That's a different discussion altogether.
Well, that's a loan.
That's a loan.
And if you're going to do that, and sometimes you might decide this is the right person for me to have in this business with me. I'm willing to do this.
Sure, of course.
Great. But my advice is figure out the repayment of that loan, how that's going to happen. And in the event and you might say, well, we'll repay it out of future earnings, right? That might be one way.
That's
Great.
fine. I agree that.
Put a time limit on it. And if the loan can't be repaid by future earnings by that time, give the partner the option to repay it out of their personal holdings, whatever that is. And if they can't, also describe how the shares in the company will shift to the person who didn't take the money out from the person who did. And it's essentially a purchase of the shares at a predefined price based on the day that the money was given out. And as long as you do that, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But my guess is many people who want to be paid like employees don't want to think of that as a loan or a purchase or somebody purchasing their shares from them because they want their shares.
Yeah, and I go back to the comment or the phrase I often say, all of these things as you're developing this idea and the working agreement and who's going to do what, these are all tests.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are harbingers, I really like that word, harbingers on the future and how it's going to look and how it's going to be handled when problems come up, because I guarantee you they're going to come up. And if your prospective, quote, partner is arguing a certain way or doesn't seem reasonable to you, that's how it's going to be in the future. And maybe you're okay with that because maybe they're super talented and this. But
the devil,
that's fine. One of the things I really find distasteful is getting nickeled and dimed. And I'm a very generous person, and I'm willing to go all in, man. Okay, great. I'll do it. I'll pay for it. Let's get it going. I'll subscribe to it. I'll register it. I'll do it. Dave and I do this back and forth for decades.
Yep.
And just know that if you're in business with someone or considering being business with someone, and they're hitting you up for small little, oh, I need to get this and I need to get that. That's how it's going to be, because that's how they think. And if you're okay with that, that's cool.
Then that's okay.
Yes.
Right.
It's up to you.
Right.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. But, you know, the working agreement, it just solves so many of these problems, because it's like, remember, if you get married, there's a
prenup.
Wedding, prenup, or I was going to say wedding encounter or engaged encounter, they call it.
Yeah. Yep.
And before you get married, you sit down like for a weekend and answer all these tough questions about kids and how you're going to handle this and what happens with the money and how we handle finances. Very difficult questions. Well, the working agreement is kind of like engaged encounter for business, in the sense that, and we'll put a link in the show notes. We created a template and put it up on the website years ago. You should go get it and keep it, because then you don't have to have that uncomfortable discussion. You just drop this in their lap and say, okay, great. You fill this out the way you think it should look, and I'll fill out mine. And then you try to bring them together, and boy, you'll learn a lot.
Yes, but that you need to learn this.
Yeah.
So
it's great. It's a great topic. And we'd love to hear your stories, how you've done this, what's worked, what hasn't. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Reach out. Let us know, man. We're in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Dissect it with us. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you here. Make sure you go check out shopify.com/businessbrain and gosquaredaway.com/contact. Keep living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday.